Oh yeah, you're fine. I don't have my computer just because.
All right. Let me help you.
Thank you. Good morning. So I was raised in the church. Good morning. Okay.
Please help me welcome Elizabeth Hart. She's the director of the Office of Community Engagement at the Tennessee Department of Health. I'm sure a lot of you know her from her wonderful Disparities Task Force meetings. They are a highlight for me. So thank you so much for joining us today, Elizabeth. There is a sign-in sheet I'll be passing around if everyone can sign it, please.
All right. So the cool thing about coming to any workshop that I lead, you get to lead with goodies. So we have all kinds of goodie bags up here. So please do not leave without grabbing a bag because I'm not taking you back to Nashville. My office is part of, and I will get to this in a second. I'm part of the Division of Health Disparities Elimination. So we have these beautiful tote bags. You can use them for all kinds of things. It has our website on it. It also has a tumbler inside, a magnet, a notebook, a vaccine card holder, all kinds of other goodies. And the 25, because I don't think I might have enough. I have 25 golf umbrellas. Ooh. That don't have to be interactive. Okay. And so I forgot, we do have another box at our table. So if I didn't count, if there's more than 25 in here, please come by our table. We have an additional like 20 or so at our table in the lunch area. So with that being said, hello everybody. My name is Elizabeth Hart. I am, as it says, the director of the Office of Community Engagement, also faith-based and community engagement at the Tennessee Department of Health. I am in the Division of Health Disparities Elimination. What I mentioned, but I don't have the thing. The other workshop I went to, like it had the words on the bottom, and I talk fast. So I wanted to see whether I was going to keep up with me, and they don't have the script at the bottom. So in the Division of Health Disparities Elimination, there are 3 offices. It's my office, the State Office of Rural Health and Rural Health Access. So I know that this afternoon you're going to hear, if you go to the workshop, for Jessica Miller, my colleague from the State Office of Rural Health, and then also the Office of Minority Health. A lot of times when we think about minority health, we think about Black and Hispanic, but I'm not sure if you all know, we have a very large immigrant refugee population here in Tennessee. And so our minority health office works a lot with different populations, such as Kurdish population. Did not know until COVID-19 that we have the largest contingency of individuals outside of Kurdistan here in the United States, which is here in Tennessee. Did not know that. Fun fact I learned during COVID. But we also have other populations that have migrated here to the state of Tennessee. So really excited about our Division of Health Disparities Elimination. So there's my first slide. So actually, let me back up before I get to that. So when we talk about community engagement, in my office, I make it really apparent to get to know people. We're going to talk about the task force in a little while. As was just mentioned, I lead the Tennessee Health Disparities Task Force. One of the things that's really, really important when you talk about community engagement is getting to know people, right? Who are we? Who are you? what is your background, right? We have to start establishing that as a relationship so that when you have clients and patients in your clinics, you kind of get to know who they are. And that helps with that conversation. It helps to learn if there's something that might be weighing heavy on them, but also anything that you can do to help or to support them, again, with their life and their livelihood. So every time I talk to audiences, I always begin with this particular slide that's going to come up next, because I say, who am I, right? Who's Elizabeth, right? So this is me. So I am originally from Indianapolis. Shockingly, I have lived in the state of Tennessee, and I have yet to pick up the accent. I do say y'all every once in a while, but I still don't have my accent. I have a pretty strong Midwest accent, and my roots are in DC. So it's a weird kind of accent. I have been working in medicine and public health, communications and community engagement for 18 years. I know that is shocking because I was only born last year, but I have actually been working in this industry for 18 years. Super proud of it. I actually graduated from Alabama A&M University down in Huntsville, Alabama, which is a historically Black college down in Huntsville. And then after graduation, I went home and was just kind of lucked up on a position at the Indiana University School of Medicine. And that's where my career began. And then I eventually went over to public health. So in this photo are my brothers, who are my pride and joy. I'm a very proud big sister. You cannot tell it. I'm actually wearing 4-inch heels in this photo. They got the height in the family. Thanks, Grandma. So they are 6'3" and 6'4". I'm barely 5'5". So yeah, those are my brothers. The one on the left, he is a fitness trainer. He lives in Cincinnati. He's also a PE teacher. He, in the off season, also will train some of the Cincinnati Bengals. The one on the right is my brother, who is the star and the celebrity of our family. He is an actor. He's been in a couple things. If you watch Succession, he was in Succession. He was also famously known as playing Barack Obama in the movie Southside with You, and then was just announced yesterday, which I've known for months, but could actually talk about publicly. He's going to be a lead in a spy thriller that's going to hit HBO Max in 2023. So stay tuned for more details. But that is my brother. But let me tell you, before he got into acting, we are a family of public servants. And so before his acting career took off, he does live in London, and he worked for Parliament. And so by day he worked for Parliament, and by night he was doing acting and modeling gigs. And as I told you, my brother on the left, he is a PE teacher. So he works in the schools. Our dad was an educator. I come from a family of public servants. Everyone in my family has done some kind of public service. My mom, she was the first woman deputy mayor of the city of Indianapolis. And so all the things, right? So I wanted to kind of give you that background of who I am and why I am so passionate about the work that I do. And the final bullet point just says that I am dedicated to health equity for all. And when I mean all, I do mean all. If you've ever sat on my task force, I do mean all. Every race, ethnicity, creed, faith or non-faith, sexual orientation. In my office, we do mean all. So I want to make sure that I emphasize that. So what is my office? So funny story, this actually used to be a program. The Office of Faith-Based and Community Engagement is actually a program. And then I was actually in the communications office for 3.5 years at the Tennessee Department of Health. And raise your hand if y'all remember during COVID getting the 2 o'clock updates every day on your phone or on Facebook or your local news. Guess what? That was me. Every day, 7 days a week. That was me. So I transitioned from communications into community engagement. And because of that, they then elevated the program to an actual office. And so that's why we have this 3-pronged approach in our division. So at the top, you've got our deputy commissioner, and then our assistant commissioner, who is Dr. Kimberly Lamar. Many of you might know that name. And then there's me. And then we've been able to hire some folks, which is really awesome, thanks to the CDC Foundation. And they loaned us some folks as community outreach workers who actually were strategically placed across the state to help with COVID-19 activities, because I just have not yet learned how to clone myself. So I really appreciate the CDC Foundation of doing that. But they also were able to continue that engagement that we were doing from central office. And I was able to then train them to kind of go out and basically be mini me's, right? And then I also have an administrative assistant. So that's awesome because there's a lot of paperwork that goes with this job. And then we have a new individual who just started 3 weeks ago. She's our new community engagement coordinator. And she is based in our central office. And her name is Betsy. And raise your hand if any of you all have any type of population population in your community that represent immigrant or refugee populations. Perfect. So y'all need to make sure you email me because Betsy is, see, I just said y'all, Betsy is specifically going to be working with immigrant and refugee populations. We recognize during COVID that was a population that we were not concentrating on previously, and we realized we need to. And so we were able to get her hired. She's very incredible young woman. She actually is a first generation Haitian American, so she brings that perspective as well. And so certainly want to get y'all connected to Betsy. So my email address will be on the last slide. Of course, I've got a ton of cards as well. We want to make sure we get y'all connected with her. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty. Check my time. Okay. When we talk about engaging with diverse communities, I wanted to come up with 10 tips, right? I go to conferences all the time, right? And you're always taking notes. And I'm like, what can I just give them as a snapshot that's going to help you when you go back to your communities, whether they're rural or metro? So let me start with number one, provide an inviting space. If you notice, as soon as I came in here, now, full disclosure, I used to be a cheerleader, shocking, I'm sure, right? But, providing that inviting space, saying that good morning, greeting everybody, helping people feel welcome in that space, whether you're speaking at a conference like this, whether you are speaking one-on-one with the patient, whether you're hosting focus groups at your clinic, right? You want to provide that inviting space because then that comfort level, right, is there for those individuals that are present, and they're really going to communicate with you because they're going to feel that sense of comfortability with you, right? Say, how are you doing? Did you check out the basketball game or the football game last night? I want to ask, I know there's probably some Cowboys fans and Titans fans in here, but ask those kinds of questions, right? To get the conversation started. With the task force that we're going to talk about in a second, how many people have actually attended my task force meetings? Got a couple. So y'all know, what do I ask the first thing on the meetings for those that have attended? Do y'all remember? Well, no, well, yeah, there's that. We'll get to that in a second. So one of the things that we do, the very first thing that we do at every single meeting without fail is we always ask for 3 positive things that have happened in your life within the last week. That helps to, again, one, kill some time, 1 or 2 minutes as people start entering into the room, right? But also it allows us to kind of have that space together and to learn about one another. We've learned about births of grandkids and babies and graduations and folks celebrating recovery and folks celebrating anniversaries of breast cancer survival. And that's an amazing way for us to have that inviting space. So every single meeting, without fail, I always start with, hey guys, I need at least 3 positive notes from 3 different people. And so that's a way that we do that. We also create a safe space, and we make that very apparent. There is no one that should ever feel unsafe when we are engaging with them. Again, whether it's virtual on my task force meetings, here with you all, I always want to create a safe space. That's important with not only knowing information, their terminology that you use on our website, which I'll again have on the last slide. We actually have a document for folks to use that has good language to, to when you're communicating with different folks and different groups, some good language that's kind of approved by those communities, right? We want to make sure that everyone has that safe space to feel like they can share, right? Those are super, super important. Inviting space, creating a safe space. Number 3, talk to the community. Don't talk at the community. I can't tell you how many times I've been places and I feel like somebody's talking it down to me or talking at me. I've asked y'all already a couple of questions, right? I want to talk to you guys. I want to learn about you. How can I help you? But also, how can you help me, right? If we're talking to one another, we now have a 2-way conversation, right? And we're going back and forth. And now in the midst of this, what are we doing? We're building that relationship. Or if you already have a relationship, you're fostering that relationship, right? So you're getting to know your community members. That's also going to help them remember, hey, guess what? I want to make sure I go to this clinic. Or they're going to tell their church member, hey, did you know this clinic offers A, B, C, D, and E? Hey, you should probably check it out. They're learning that because they're building that relationship with you, right? The next bullet point, we got some new folks. Hello. The next point is one size does not fit all. Let me repeat that. One size does not fit all. Now, one of the things that's very unique about me, and I've been doing this for a very long time, I am the same Elizabeth today. For those that have been on the task force, y'all know I talk just like this on the task force. I have sat in meetings with the governor and I talk just like this. I am very much the same person, right? But my language sometimes does change a little bit depending on what audience I'm talking to. And I say that, and that's my communications hat coming on. I will have a script for a commercial that I've written in my previous position. Same objectives, but it's going to be tailored just a little bit differently for an NPR affiliate, and so a national public radio station, which typically has a different socioeconomic listener, typically are a little bit more educated, either have a college degree or higher, than I would, let's say, a hip hop urban station. The language is going to be just a little bit different. Same message, right? Same objectives, same goals, but it's going to be tweaked just a little bit different. So that's why when I say one size does not fit all, that's what I mean, right? So figuring out your objectives when you're engaging with your communities. Hey, what is our goal with this focus group? What is our goal with this weekly meeting? If some of you are on your county health councils, if you're aware of your county health councils, what is our goal for this particular project, right? Then let's make sure that we're talking this way, right, to the community, right, on that level, using this particular language, right? If you're talking to some teenagers, I mean, I don't see any teens in here. I don't see anybody that was born, like 10, 15 years ago. But they're teenagers. The way you talk to teens is gonna be different than you talk to adults, right? Now, I haven't been a teenager in years. I have to actually call my cousins and say, okay, so now what's the newest slang? What's the newest language? Like, because y'all keep coming up with a new word every other day, and I'm having to really learn it. But that helps, right? As that one size does not fit all, right? Think about that, but always have those same goals and objectives. And the next bullet point with engaging with diverse communities, it kind of goes with the other one we just talked about, is customizing that approach for various audiences. I kind of touched on that a little bit. Again, customizing how you want to address them, how you want to communicate with them. In person, I like this kind of environment, right, where we're kind of talking, I can see you. I like circular as well because it's an inviting space, right? I don't like the whole lecture feel, right? If I didn't have to keep pushing these buttons, I'd probably walk around with you guys. Again, I customize that approach depending on what audience I'm in front of. Let the data speak. Now listen, I don't know how many data nerds are in here, but everything we do is based on data, right? I mentioned at the beginning that we just hired Betsy as a community engagement coordinator. Why? Because we looked at the data and saw, one, we have a growing immigrant and refugee population in the state. The data showed that. The data also showed we weren't tapping into those populations, and that's why we hired her. Everything we do is based on data, and everything you do should be based on data, right? So if the data is showing, I don't want to ask if there's anybody in the South Central region, but right now, a project we're working on in the South Central region of the state is with breast and cervical cancer, but specifically breast cancer. And there's a program that allows for individuals to get to tap into some services that are in the community. What the data showed us was there were very few African-American women who are tapping into this program and service, right? So what did we do? We're gonna let the data speak. And now we're gonna we put in a plan of action to work with some faith-based organizations. We're doing some outreach to some community leaders, and not only introducing ourselves and saying, hey, guess what, we're here, let us know how we can help you, but also, hey, there are some programs and services we really need to make sure that you're tapping into from the pulpit and letting your congregation know that these services are available because they're free. And we want to make sure that they know about it. And again, we let that data speak for itself. Engaging with traditional and non-traditional partners. That is incredibly important. Again, on our task force, we have a wide array of people who sit on this task force, both traditional and non-traditional. So what are traditional, right? We're in public health. We're all public health nerds, right? I'm a nerd. I'm an admitted nerd, right? I love actually reading data and translating it. That's what I did in my former life. And so I know that that is the traditional sense, right? And we talk about partners. Non-traditional would be activists, moms, dads, grandparents. If you've sat on my task force, I'm sure you have met Miss Oldham. Miss Oldham, we love Miss Oldham. Miss Oldham hails from Montgomery County in Clarksville, and she is just a concerned citizen who just speaks her mind, and we love her for it. I see a couple of y'all laughing because y'all know about Miss Oldham. Miss Oldham represents African American community. She's a member of the NAACP, but she would be considered a non-traditional partner, right? She has long been retired, but she is really passionate about her community, not just as an African American, but her community as a whole in Montgomery County. And so she sits and she is there every single Thursday and always has a question to ask. And so when we think about her, she is considered a non-traditional partner. And there's all kinds of other non-traditional partners. We have an individual on our task force who has a son who has a disability. And so she actually comes on the meetings every week to make sure that not only her son's voice is heard, but that she's speaking for others that are in the disability community, right? So she's always providing me, she is my go-to. Ms. Janet is, when I've had a question, right, about the disability community, or I need some help with some language, she is my go-to, and she's just on the task force as a mom. That's what's considered a non-traditional partner, right? And we love, love, love our non-traditional partners because at the end of the day, they're only looking out really truly for their best interest of their community or their loved ones. Embracing diverse lived experiences. So I started off earlier talking about who I am and my background. My lived experience is going to be much different than some of you, just on the mere fact that I'm not even from Tennessee, right? I'm from Indiana. I am a Hoosier. Don't ask me what a Hoosier is. I still don't know what a Hoosier is, but I am a Hoosier. I was born and raised in a political family. Both my parents were politicians, went to private school, like the whole 9 yards, right? But I spent 5 years in Memphis, right? And I spent 5 years really working in the North Memphis, South Memphis area at the health department there, right? And that's going to be a much different lived experience, right, for individuals and those communities versus how I was raised. But you know what, the amazing thing about public health is we embrace everybody, right? As I said a minute ago, I speak the same way, whether I'm talking to somebody who is a felon, a former felon, or somebody who's a politician. Sometimes those can be one and the same. But, but I talk to them the exact same way. I think about, I'm always going to add comedy, you guys. I think about the project that I did when I was still in the Office of Communications. Some of you may or may not have remembered it because it happened right before COVID. So we've all kind of blurred since COVID. It's called the Tennessee Faces of Opioids campaign. I was extraordinarily passionate about that. I actually drove to all 95 counties in the state of Tennessee. Yes, I had physical therapy on my hip from driving. But I actually had the opportunity to tell stories of individuals whose lives have been impacted by opioids. Let me tell you something. I spoke with folks that were at the time currently in jail, incarcerated, folks who are, there was one individual who had only been 2 weeks clean, talked to somebody who was 30 years clean, talked to a mom and dad who lost their child, talked to a grandparents who then ended up having to take custody of their grandchildren because their child was still in recovery, right? All different lived experiences. And that's when I realized Tennessee really is an incredible melting pot of a lot of different folks. And it's important that we embrace all of those diverse lived experiences and respect one another. And yes, I have gone all the way to the holler, never driven. How many of y'all are in the holler, know about the hollers in East Tennessee? Oh, awesome. So let me tell you about y'all. So I went there and I didn't realize it, and it was raining. So I had to go up the mountain and then come back down the mountain. That was a lot of fun. Appreciate y'all and those diverse lived experiences. That was my first time doing that. And I've learned now which ways to go instead of going the way that I did. Encourage creativity is the next bullet point, right? We really, really, really love creativity. We love ideas. I've been doing this a very long time, and I can tell you, I do not have all the answers. Sometimes I'll have an idea at 2 o'clock in the morning and Dr. Lamar will tell me, stop texting me and stop emailing me at 2 o'clock in the morning. I got an idea. I'm going to show you some videos here in a second that they were actually from the creative from our task force. We embrace creativity. We want to hear from you guys. You guys might have the best idea in the world, and we might have the money to make it happen, right? So we want to encourage creativity. Same with you guys in your communities, right? You have different folks from different lived experiences, right? When you're having focus groups, ask them, hey, if you were to do a commercial, radio, television, you were going to create a graphic design, what would you put on it, right? Somebody might say this, somebody might say that, you might come up with a compromise, or you might decide on one or the other, but embrace that creativity. It also helps for folks in your community to know that their voice is actually valued, right? It helps when they see their image or their either their photo or the idea that they had for a PSA, right, playing on a local television station. They're like, oh my gosh, that's my idea. But by doing that, now you're building that relationship, right? Or you're fostering that relationship, right? And so again, that helps with making a healthier community in your counties or your cities. And the last bullet point on this particular slide, now, if you know, for those that know me, I love music. I love it all. I love country. I like hip hop. I'm a huge hip hop fan, R&B, all the rest of it. But if you're old enough to remember Vanilla Ice, I see a lot of head nods. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Now, I ain't gonna do it like him, but stop, collaborate, and listen. That's so important, because when we're having conversations, and again, for those that have been on my task force meetings, you know, I will literally stop talking, right? I want us to collaborate, and by doing that, I'm listening to your ideas. So I'm going to encourage y'all to do that when you're out in your community, whether you're, again, one-on-one with your patients, having focus groups, attending community meetings, talking to your counselor, your county health counselors, or your politicians, right? Stop for a second. You know, you might have your own agenda for a moment. Figure out a way to collaborate with them and listen to their ideas. And going back to the previous bullet point, listen for their creative ideas, right? So stop, collaborate, and listen. I bet y'all just sung that in your head when I said it. I can see the heads nodding. Okay, so how do we reduce stigma through community engagement? Leave your office. Seriously, it's really, really simple. Leave your office, get in your vehicle or use public transportation where available, and support your community organizations and partners. So I've actually been here since Saturday because I attended a couple of our community events. We had Latino Memphis is one of our community partners, and they had an incredible Hispanic Heritage Month activity and event in Overton Square on Saturday. And I got here and was able to support them and just be present, right? And they appreciated that. I mean, just me showing up, they were like, oh my gosh, she came. Well, yeah, I told you I would. By just showing up. And then I left there and went to another community partner in Memphis Parks that's here in Memphis. They were hosting a teen fest. It was like an American Idol-esque kind of competition with young people from the urban inner city, and it was across from the FedEx Forum. So I went and supported them as well. So I want to emphasize this. A lot of times we get bogged down in paperwork and patients and all kinds of stuff in the clinic, which is all great, right? Because we need to provide the services. But get out of your office. Get out and meet your neighbors. Get out and communicate with them. Find out by just observing, are there any barriers? How can you address these barriers, and how can you do better within your clinic? I cannot emphasize this enough. Please get out of your office. If you run a clinic and you're like, you know, I've got patients from 8 to 4, maybe establish one day a month where you as a team or you individually actually go out into the community. Maybe it's a Saturday. And no, not everybody's gonna work, 800 days a week, or, like the way that I do, right? But pick a Saturday. Maybe there's some back to school fairs that are happening. Just get out. Don't go out with your hat on as a clinic, like your clinic hat. If you're a clinic supervisor or whatever, go out as a community member. Support, show up, and learn about your community. Okay, so how do we build partnerships? So I've talked a lot about the Tennessee Health Affairs Task Force. It is my pride and my joy. It was created in April of 2020 to address disproportionate number of individuals contracting COVID-19 being Black or African American. So that's how we started. In the beginning of COVID-19, it wasn't just Tennessee, it was across the board. We weren't collecting data for race and ethnicity. I see a couple of my friends that were at my table the other day. We talked about this a little bit. And we realized, okay, we got a problem. But then a couple, maybe 4 to 6 weeks after we established a task force, we realized it wasn't just Black or African American. Now we got vulnerable populations. So the data was starting to come in about rural populations, right? And which Blacks, of course, also live in rural communities, but we were really looking at some of these super rural areas, but also our friends in the disability community, right? So we realized we got to expand this. This isn't just this particular issue. This is a bigger, broader issue. So the task force then expanded. So it started with 50 to 75 members, give or take every week. As of right now, we are about to cross 1,400 members, and I took it over about 18 months ago. So I'm very proud of myself from going from 50 to 75 up to about 1,400 members, and I'm gonna add all of y'all to it. So just FYI, you're gonna start getting all my emails if you don't get my emails already. We have 4 priorities: chronic diseases, mental health, infectious diseases, and then environmental health and justice. We do different priorities every single week. We have presentations. I actually invite you, so those of you that are already on my task force, you know I say this every week, but if you are going to be new members, I expect all of y'all to be sending me emails, so please flood my email address. I invite folks to come on and present about the work that y'all are doing, because that's a great way to collaborate. So all the folks that are on this side that raise their hand, that y'all are in East Tennessee and they know about the hollers, the folks on the west part of the state, they need to know what y'all are doing, because they might be able to duplicate the efforts that you're doing, catering it to their population, right? And public health, we share, right? Don't hold on to it. Hence the reason why we brought a lot of bags, like we share. We share information, we share ideas, because you might have had the best idea and somebody here in Shelby County is like, you know what? I like that. Let's cater just a little bit to us, but that's a brilliant idea, right? So that's what we do with the task force. So I invite you to come and give a presentation. Dr. Wick over here, I see her to my right. She's going to actually be presenting about her program and her project, the Indeed project. So I won't give all the goodies away, because I want you to come next Thursday to the task force meeting. But she's going to be talking about all the incredible work that they're doing with Alzheimer's and dementia and brain health. And so again, we invite folks to come and give presentations. We want to help communities do better. So in that last one, you see that we meet weekly. Yes, we have a weekly meeting. Don't ask me how I do it. It is by the grace of God. This is a charitable care. We were talking about faith yesterday. By the grace of God that we do it every single week. The first Thursday, we focus on chronic diseases. So of course, that is diabetes and heart disease and Alzheimer's and all kinds of other stuff. The second week, we talk about mental health and recovery. The third week is infectious disease. We alternate that every other month. So the odd months of the year, we focus on environmental health and justice. On the even months, we focus on infectious diseases. Right now, we are also in the midst of our health equity book series. I am just so honored for some of the people that I've spoken with, these authors. We kicked it off. How many of you can raise your hand if you know the name Henrietta Lacks? So a couple of hands, great. So I would love for you all to go to our website and check out the video. We actually had an opportunity. I was honored to interview 2 of her descendants. If you do not know Henrietta Lacks, if you've had the COVID-19 vaccine, you should know her, because it was her cells, the HeLa cells, that actually were used in the development of the vaccine. Right? There are a whole lot of medicines that she has been involved with, and there's a whole ethical situation that happened. I won't go into the nitty gritty of that. Please look her up. But we had an opportunity to interview 2 of her descendants. We've also had an opportunity to talk to Professor Sir, or is it Sir Professor, Michael Marmot. He is the foremost expert on health equity. He's based in London, and so he answered. I'm that person. I'm going to ask the question. All they're going to tell me is no, right? So I sent him an email just knowing this. He was benighted by the Queen. I figured he's going to tell me no. Who is this crazy lady in Tennessee? But he said yes. So we had an opportunity to interview him and talk about health equity in the book that he wrote. We also talked with Dr. Beverly Tatum a couple weeks ago. She wrote the book, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? That was a book about race relations. It's much deeper than the title, and I really encourage you all to read it. It is a long book. It's about 400 pages, but it is on audio, so feel free, if you're somebody that likes to drive like me, to go ahead and download that and listen to it. It really does kind of get really deep into the conversation about race relations on all levels, right? We talk about Hispanic levels and Black levels and all different categories. It's really, really incredibly enlightening. And then we've got a couple more that are coming up. I'm not going to break any news, but you want to stay tuned. We're excited about the authors that are coming. But again, this was feedback from our task force. They wanted this, so we make it happen. Right. And so the last bullet point is join, network, and participate. The task force is a way to stay engaged. So if you're someone who really wants some advice and you want to learn from other organizations that are doing well or doing some good things, join, to listen, to write down all kinds of notes. We have the whole chat that's a feature that's in the Teams meeting, and we actually encourage folks, and that actually has turned into a lot of partnerships, right? Where folks are like, hey, here's my email, let's talk offline. We want you to do that. We want you to network. And of course, we want you to participate. If you also, for those that have been on my task force meetings, you know I am not shy about asking people for their opinions, and I will put people on the spot. I'm like, hey, I haven't heard from you. What do you think about this? So I really do encourage engagement, right? So I'm not just talking to myself. If you notice, I've even asked y'all a couple of questions, right? I don't like just talking myself. So that's the Health Disparities Task Force. I am fairly certain that everybody in this room is going to send me an email after this. Please flood my email inbox so that you can get on that list. The last thing, and it's not on this bullet point, was, ma'am, what's your name? Jen, thank you, Jen. Mention my weekly emails. So this is what I do every Friday. I took off last Friday because I even put a little dog and said I'm on a break. Every week I do put a little dog or an animal because people apparently love dogs and cats and all the things. But every week we send out what's called a top 10 email. So as I mentioned, I'm from Indiana. Indianapolis specifically, home of David Letterman. And so if you all recall, when he had his show, he had his top 10 in his opening act. And so it's called the top 10 email. And that's the top 10 announcements and updates across the state and across the federal government. So a lot of good webinar opportunities, a lot of good reports that are happening, some sessions that are happening, conferences that are happening. For the most part, we try to provide updates and promote things that are free again. And then finally, and somebody noted yesterday, I met somebody over there in the lunch area and said, I noticed on your top 10 emails, you wait till the end to put the funding opportunities. Well, duh, I want you to read on. That's my marketing and communications hat, right? Like I want you to read through all this other stuff before you get to the money, duh. Right. And so I do provide funding opportunities at the very end of the email. So don't now still, if you get on my list, don't just scroll to the bottom. I need you to read all the other items, but we do provide funding opportunities. We have a great relationship with HHS. What's my clock? Oh, a great relationship with HHS in Region 4. That's Health and Human Services, Region 4. And she really pushes us to get those funding opportunities out. She's got folks on her staff who actually look at grants.gov. If you've ever looked at grants.gov, it's very overwhelming. There's like 8,000 pages of grants that are out there. She actually has folks on her team who actually go through them and find, hey, this is relevant to faith-based organizations. I'm looking at some pastors here. We've got some funding opportunities that are based for 501c3, so your nonprofits. We've got grants that are available for small clinics, right? She pushes those to us and says, hey, I want your folks to apply. She is incredibly competitive in the best way, and she wants every state in her region to get all of the grants. And so she keeps pushing for that. The other reason why you want to get on this list and you want to make sure you're getting my weekly emails is because there's some incredible things that are coming down the pipeline. As I mentioned, the Health Equity book series is continuing. So you'll want to learn about that and how to get on that. Of course, 100% free. We're going to be doing some grant writing workshops. So how many of y'all actually enjoy writing grants? That's what I thought. No, it's like, oh, right, we got two, exactly. Everyone else says, no, I'm good, right? But we want to provide some trainings to how do you create the plug and play information that you need to put in a grant, right? We know that some people just can't, afford to hire a grant writer. So sometimes you got to learn it on your own. Well, to actually hire a trainer to teach you also costs money. So what do? We provide that service for you. So what we do is we'll have grant writing workshops and we'll bring experts on. You'll get the emails from me, how to log in. We always record everything. So if you can't make it, on that Monday or that Tuesday, whatever we decide, then you can go back and watch the recording, and they give you tips and they show you play by play how to put together your information for your grants. A lot of things, and I saw a couple of hands that went up, they would probably agree. A lot of the grants are very similar, right? If you have your basic template of your organization of information, right? Your missions, your goals, your projects, the people who are on your staff. A lot of it's plug and play, right? But you can't plug and play if you haven't written it yet, right? So we want to provide those opportunities. So that's coming down the pipeline. We're also looking at, we're working with a teacher to do some virtual classes to learn Spanish, some conversational Spanish. So we're going to be providing that over the course of a couple of weeks. And then some other little goodies. I don't want to give anything away, but you want to get on my list to learn about that kind of good information. So I am expecting 30 some odd, however many people are in here, emails after this. So the next thing I wanted to show you, watch my time, and I know because I'm standing between you and lunch, so I want to make sure I end at 12:15. I ain't new to this. I know that. I see her with the card up. I got you. So I know I'm standing between you and lunch. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys the PSAs that we created and really, really honored again by the task force because it was their creativity. It was their feedback that provided us with this information in order to create these PSAs. And so hopefully, knock on wood, it'll actually play and you can hear it. So that's one of our PSAs. You will start seeing that very soon on your local television stations. And then there's there's the next one. Okay. Okay, and then there's one. Oh, okay, that was the only two. So I wanted to show, these are the screenshots of the Health Equity book series that I mentioned a little while ago. So at the top left, as I mentioned, that those are individuals who are descendants of Henrietta Lacks. That is Sir Michael Marmot, that's in the top right. There's some individuals from the NIH who wrote a book about health equity. And then that is Dr. Beverly Tatum to the right. And as noted in another presentation I did a couple weeks ago, never get used to my hair because you can see my hair changes every single week. I walked in today and someone's like, your hair is different. Yeah, I know, don't ever get used to it. But again, we did this equity book series based on feedback from our task force. We listen, right? We listen to what is needed and was asked for, and we make it happen. No, I don't want to play it. Okay. Also, recognition of community partners. I wanted to kind of just give a snapshot. Every year, we did this actually when I was in the communications office, and then decided to actually put it on our website. And you probably saw the website that was on those PSAs. It's healthdisparitiestn.com, 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 healthdisparitiestn.com. I'm going to say it one more time, healthdisparitiestn.com. It's also on all the lovely materials that you're going to get today, healthdisparitiestn.com. On our website, we actually do some recognition, and we started this with Black History Month. We're going to start doing some other projects now that I have a larger team that's going to kind of help me with this. But I wanted to show you what we did with Black History Month 2022. We recognized there are 28 days. Yes, 28 days in the month of February. So we recognized 28 individuals, many of which are on our task force, but others of which were folks that people nominated from their community. We want to recognize them and give their bios and tell people who they are and link to their community community organizations, and of course have their photo. And so that was just a screenshot. If you go to that particular link on our website, all 28 from this year are on there. So FYI, February is rolling around soon, so please be thinking about folks in your community and nominate them and let us celebrate them and honor them during Black History Month. Last one, teamwork makes the dream work. We all know that, right? So we could not possibly do this without you guys. And I'm sure that you all have community partners in your communities, your cities and your counties. Always remember that teamwork makes the dream work. There is no I. I know there's a lot of cliches, but there is no I in team, right? I just said I really Southern. Okay, so there is no I in team. And I mean that very seriously. I could not possibly do what I do traveling the state. I'm on one of my colleagues yesterday, Charlotte, said, we're going to get you a little sticker that says, instead of where's Waldo, where's Liz? Because every week I'm in a different city. I could not do what I do without incredible teamwork. I've got one of my colleagues right here, Teresa, in the State Office of Rural Health. I'll see Jessica back there. She does a presentation after lunch. We work very well together, and no matter where I am, no matter what employer I work for, I wholeheartedly believe in teamwork. I could not possibly have been doing this for 18 years without incredible teams that I work with. So final slide, well, second to last final slide. Take a screenshot, even though I have cards. That's my information, that's my email, that is my phone number, my cell. I see some phones going up, but I have plenty of cards, so if you don't want to do that. And then the last one, healthdisparities.com, healthdisparities.com. That is the Division of Health Disparities Elimination. That is all three offices that I just mentioned. My office, Office of Minority Health, and the State Office of Rural Health, all of our information on there. We are actually going through a kind of an overhaul in between attending conferences and attending community events. I see Jessica nodding. We are actually redoing our website. Oh, by the way, I'm also the webmaster for our division, so I play webmaster at night. So please make sure that you're visiting our website. A lot of good information is on there. If there are any reports from any program area at the Department of Health related to equity or disparities, we make sure that we put those on our website. So you don't have to go digging through them, right? Through other program areas on their websites. We actually put the report specifically on our site if there is a disparities or an equity lens, right? Also on our website, as I mentioned before, there's a toolkit, a document that's on there for language to be using when you're talking about inclusive language. Really want to encourage you to go to that. So with that being said, that is my last slide. Please do not leave out of here because we are not taking it back to Nashville. A bag, and we have 25 umbrellas. I know there's more than 25 people in here. If you don't get an umbrella, we have more at our table. Any questions? We have like 2 minutes. Anybody have a question, comment, concern that you want to ask me? I'm gonna get all y'all's emails, right? Okay, I'm gonna ask that again. I'm gonna get all y'all's emails, right? Okay. All right, folks. Thanks, y'all. Okay. Is this for that? Did you get it back? Thank you. You want to be where you're gone.
Here's her. Is this her card?
Yes.
Her name was Elizabeth. Which one is that? This is
Fiona.
Let's see. She might have been her. She had her hand first. Her hand.
So this is for her.
And were you co-presenter? I got one for you too. I didn't present anything. Okay. Some for you, you know. Say the word.
And most of the even the translations are not.
We actually have a contract with a professional, not just somebody. Actually, completely translated in, the report. So there's my way of. We are really trying. Arabic, French, and Dutch. So the standing videos you saw, you have to have them translate. We are not getting away with it. Before you give me a post on our website, you get a fan version. There, and we to make sure. If it's. That's right. Don't do anything. Right? Let's check. Yeah, no. Happening in the community and how we can help. You know, I'm wondering about, we lose a lot of money. COVID, we got a lot of stuff, which is great. COVID money was big. But COVID, it's not, so that's what I think, it's not sustainable. I mean, we got a lot of money right now, and once it runs out, it's gone. What we're trying to do is strategic, right, and making sure we have those things that are established. Like on the feet, like some of our products like before, you really start doing things, and you're not, you're constantly to them.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can have a, all right.
Yes.
Yeah. A whole box. Right. Okay. Nice. So she, let me come over email you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, we definitely will. Good to see you again.
We are a Catholic organization. Yes, we are one of those, but we do have to.
That's a lot of things that I.
I made it easy for you. And this is where I am. Hello. Yeah, I logged into our Canva account,
Okay.
so I'll just log out when I leave.
Well, we have,
Yes.
so we'll introduce you. And maybe I can just copy it in there.
I can also re-download it as a PowerPoint if needed. Sometimes Canva doesn't always transfer PowerPoint super well.
I actually have it as a PDF. But
great.
like, this is our slide to introduce you, and then I just put it in front of your, but,
I can just make this the main screen until I'm ready to start and then flip over to Canva if that's cool with you. Great.
is it okay if we record it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me set that up.
And I'll make sure to get a copy of the sign-in, or just a picture of the sign-in sheet.
Okay. Great, thank you. No, Christina's, I was just, okay, I don't know where it is. Why is the Zoom not showing up?
Ooh, hold on. Earlier it scooted off to the far right side of the screen. Maybe?
That's fine. I'll just get in the meeting.